So what we're going to do today is remove the crankshaft, or at least start on it. The first thing to do is, so the reason I'm doing that is because the crankshaft needs to be removed in order to give this to the machine shop to get the cylinders hound. So I have to reinstall the pin here, the crankshaft pin, so which means I have to rotate the crankshaft so that there's a little slot for the crankshaft pin that has to line up, and which means that cylinder 3, I believe, is at TDC. Of course, there are no pistons here now, so I'll move it so that it does that. Then so I can lock the crankshaft off, and then I'm going to remove the flywheel, and then we'll go from there. So the crankshaft locking pin was fairly easy to install. What I did was I rotated this. So what you can do is you can actually look at the hole in the crank by shining a light through here, and then just move it, shine a light through here, you can see the slot, and then you just tighten this to so that it locks the crank in place. Now the crank is immovable. We can have our way with it. Now the second thing they tell you to do is to mark the position of the flywheel with respect to the engine. So there is this little center thing here, whatever this is, coolant line, oil line, whatever, this junction, and that has a little T going down there, so I'm going to mark it here. So that tooth over there is marked white, and I'm going to mark it all the way across. So there's pretty clear that that's supposed to line up with the center over there, and that will, I mean, that's pretty obvious what that thing got to be. So what I'm now doing is removing the 8 crankshaft, flywheel bolts. These have to be replaced. I have them in order. Fortunately, I have this ratcheting wrench, which makes this relatively straightforward, hopefully. Got one out. Takes a fair amount of strength. It's a 17 millimeter. The outer hex is 17 millimeters. There is actually an inner double hex, they call it, socket, which you could also use presumably if you had that bit. But I don't. It's a strange bit to have. No, this is not. This is getting right here. That's better. That's, there you go. So pretty high torque, that's it. Aha, interesting. This thing has already moved off kilter here. Interesting, very interesting. So I do have line-up marks, so it's fine, but so this outer thing, whatever this is, also moves, and we're going to have to line that up. At any rate. bolts are off, and what comes off? The whole thing comes off. Okay, that is not difficult. Okay, flywheel is off. So the instruction manual, the Bentley manual, is not very helpful in terms of exactly what sequence to do this in. So I'm just going to remove these in the sequence I see fit. So I'm going to remove this end plate here, and there are a bunch of 10mm bolts holding it in there. Presumably there's some kind of gasket back here, but I don't know. It's very easy to remove. There are lots of them. All of them have washers. Are they the same length? They are not. Okay, the bottom ones are not the same length. So this was one of the bottom ones. So I'm going out counterclockwise around the periphery, and 1, 2, 3, these were the same length. This fourth one was not. I assume the fifth one isn't either, so we'll see. No, the fifth one will be the same. So that's the oil line there. That's why that one's longer. That's just one support. That's one that goes on. That's right. What's this? That's zero. 9 volts. 79. 9 to 6 anymore. You never know. So it's just off the line. These things as well, that one's easier. Actually, no, this is just how off. Here's the other. That's the time is hard. That's what else is. Okay, I'll do. And it was off. Okay, it appears that there are locator pins on it, that's why it just doesn't pop out, but gentle prying eases it off, and we should be. There we go. So the end plate is off, and so it says there are thrust washers only on the fourth crankcase. It's helpfully marked 1, 2, 3, 4. And only this has something called thrust washers. We'll have to see what those things are. But here's the end plate, it's off now. And I'll put that aside. And bag all these screws. So what I decided to do, instead of removing all these thrust washers or whatever these things are, I'm going to remove this end plate first, and then we'll go from there. So there are lots of things to remove. I'm going to remove this guy first. This is the tensioner damper assembly, so I'm just going to take that out. More 10mm stuff. This is timing belt tensioner, I believe, or damper. Tensioner is this, tensioner pulleys that. It's off. 3 bolts of identical length. I'm running out of Ziploc bags. Put this all in one Ziploc bag. Now I'm going to remove this bolt here, take the pulley out, take that bolt off, take those guys off, and then perhaps the end cap. So 13 millimeters. Come on. It's actually not 13? My goodness. Would you believe it's 12? Never make assumptions. Fake me out there. Almost everything is 13 or 11. That's like or 10. But this is the odd 12. Okay, this goes in like this. Behind this, some kind of a pivot. Need to bag this as well. This thing has a hex that comes off. This guy looks like 17 millimeters. But I don't have to remove that, actually. Do I even have to? Maybe not. Just sits there. Maybe I don't have to remove this guy either. Oh, maybe I do. Well, of course I can remove these guys. Hex bit for this guy. The 12 millimeter away. There's a washer back there. Which take that out. It's a washer on both sides. Go. The washer sits here on the. So it's like this. So washer here, washer on both sides. Hex bolt. This looks brand new. This might have been changed. So it's a bearing. Okay. And then this. Wild guess 17. Yep. Very tight. So use the breaker bar with the bigger 17mm socket. I should be able to get it out. There you go. No washers, just here it is. It's out. Okay, I removed the big crankshaft bolt. This took a lot of doing. This is very heavily torqued, so I had to use the breaker bar and the handle of my floor jack as an extension. I'm sure if someone stronger than I could have just used just the breaker bar alone, but it does come out. The big ass bolt. Yep, that is one huge bolt. Let's see if this comes off. And now I believe you have a fighting chance of getting the end plate off. This guy. Lots of 10mm and 130mm looks like. Lock washers here. I wonder if the other side has lock washers. Didn't check. is. This one is 13 or 11 actually, 11 or 12 it looks like. Socket won't fit. Okay. Maybe yep, 12. That means sure, let's hold this there. Let's get the extension out. Okay, this is a strange looking bolt, alright. This guy, funny end. I do need to bag this appropriately. I noticed this. Okay, I think all the screws are off. Okay, I had all the bolts off except one, which was the only Torx there. So the Torx has a copper washer, it goes in here, some kind of looks like an oil passage seal kind of thing, just over here. This guy. Okay, and I took that out. Now I have to take out the bit which is stuck in there. Okay, I'm going to take this end cap off, presumably similar operation to the other side. Gentle prying. There's a gasket here, which I had noted from the diagram, from the Bentley manual. But yeah, it looks like it's cast aluminum. And here we have it. It's the end of the crankshaft. Yeah, all this will lift off now. It looks like I did manage to break this little plastic bit. I have to buy a new one of these. Whatever this is, some kind of a retainer thingy for the oil pump chain, I think. So let's set this aside. And yeah, remember to buy this guy. I think I should terminate proceedings for the day here. Got other stuff to do. So all this actually seems in very good shape. There's nothing, no problem at all. No leaks, no nothing. Camshaft oil pump chain. And it looks like now this guy will lift off. So yeah, crankshaft is very close to just lifting off now. Just remove these things and it'll come off. Oh man, I should just do it. Okay. So no half measures here. Just go with the big breaker bar. Probably doesn't require that much torque, but we'll see. come on. There you go. Yep, requires a fair bit of torque. I wonder if these feel like they should be replaced too. Ah, man. So there's 22 of these. This could be an expensive proposition, replacing all these boards. 16, not 32. Okay, all of them are loose. Possibly removable by hand now. Oh, maybe not. You can see the piston oil squirters down there, so big bolts. So remember, these are strange bolts, so reverse torques, if you will. How's that going? It'll be interesting. What thing just knocks out here? Interesting. Yeah, I suppose it does. Okay, all the top fastening clamps are all off from the crankshaft, and now I suppose it should just come off. So this one is loose. I think it'll just come off, and it does. Set it down here. Beautifully machined parts, cast iron look feels. So I was too lazy to set up the camera to do this bit, but I finally figured out how to remove the main bearing end caps, which are holding the crankshaft down. So the basic idea, I just missed the fact that there are bolts here and here, and here and here. There are hex bolts here, and so you remove them, and then what I did was I used just a sacrificial bolt that I had lying around. I connected to the top and then pulled with a pair of pliers, and out it came. So I have all 4 end caps out now, and so strangely enough, I have only 3 of these, and it looks like there ought to be 4. Maybe one just fell down somewhere, but really there only seem to be 3, but there ought to be 4. It seems like one on either side of this number 4 end cap, and so it's number 4. Let me just, for memory, this is number 4, 3, 2, and 1, and then each of these had half of a journal bearing, which I pulled out, and then I put them in a bag suitably labeled. But there's a mystery of what happened to these thrust bearings, which are only on number 4. There ought to be 4, but there are only 3. So now the only thing that remains really is to remove these piston squirters, which seem to be pretty easy. And maybe I'll remove these mounting brackets as well. And then I'm ready to take it to the machine shop. Now removing this bracket, I believe it was for the alternator. So I have one piston squirter left in there because I stripped the head on that. And maybe I'll have the machine shop remove that. And so remove this and maybe remove that other bracket there as well. And then I should be all set. So I also removed the water pump, which goes here. There are 1, 2, 3, I'm not going to count, but about that many bolts over there. I'm going to put them in a bag. There's the water pump. And I removed the alternator bracket. I think that's the alternator bracket. I don't remember. It was over here. And there's another bracket which I'm about to take out. This may be the last thing. And here it is. There were 3 hex bolts. Hit those hex bolts, but they didn't strip this time. So I'm going to take it out and set it aside. And I think we have a bare block now. Okay, in the process of removing other stuff, I also removed the oil feed that sat here. And there's a little pipes that snakes down over there and with an O-ring. Removed that. Now I'm removing the oil squirter feeds as well. So 2 banjo bolts here, one funky banjo bolt here, which I'm removing now. And there it comes. And hopefully this will just pull out, or maybe not. Yep, it does pull out. So I removed those. So now really the only bit that's missing, I've said this a number of times, but I think now the only bit that's still there is the piston squirter, which I'm hoping Terry will be able to remove.